Greetings and welcome to
YAS Podcast, formerly known as
YAS Stripper Podcast.
This is our podcast, all of ours.
A podcast for all sex workers.
In this podcast, we will discuss the ins and outs, ups and downs of our lives and experiences as sex workers. I am your host, Daisy Ducati.
I am your Hopra, Gigi Holiday.
I'm your stripper queen from the north, Onyx.
I'm AM Davies, and this is YAS Podcast. We love doing this work, maintaining a platform for sex workers to tell their stories, entertaining and educating the public. If you love our podcast, please consider donating. We are now a 501c3, so your donations would be considered tax deductible. Go to yaswork.org/donate and easily send us some support to help keep this podcast going. That's yaswork.org/donate. Hey y'all, AMD here for another amazing recording of YAS Podcast. Super special, exciting recording time. Emily is with me today. What's up, Emily?
Hey,
Hi.
how you doing?
Hi, I'm fucking great, and I'm really stoked about how good our backgrounds match. And look, I'm just feeling
Same.
more and more professional with every recording. Yeah. I'm excited today because you're gonna stay on with me. Normally, we have the producers pop off, but I don't know. It just kind of felt fun to do like a group chat, right?
Yeah, I
Is-
love the group thing.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like this is your official first, like you're hosting a podcast now. You're a podcast hoster officially today, right now.
I'm excited. Let's do it.
Me too. So today we have with us Samantha Sun from the East London Stripper Collective. Come on in and say hello.
Hi, everyone.
Sam, you've been on this podcast before.
I have.
Second time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Today you're representing East London Stripper Collective because we want to know what y'all are up to over there. It's part of this thread that we're working on where we're bringing awareness to a lot of the sex worker organizations all around the world and what they're up to. So I really just wanted to create like a library of recordings about what's happening currently in today's world with all of these amazing various sex worker organizations and the people behind them. So that's what's and Emily, you don't know that much about the East London Stripper Collective, do you?
No, I don't. I'm so excited.
Yeah. So we're going to want you to ask questions so that because what you don't know, also the audience might not know. So you're going to be helping the audience today learn things that like, I'm like, oh, I already know all of this, you know? Yeah. So Sam, how are you doing? Tell us, like, give us a brief synopsis of East London Stripper Collective and maybe when you're not talking, I'm going to talk. And so that our audience knows what is East London Stripper Collective and who are maybe some other people that couldn't be here with you today that, deserve recognition for their work, etc.
Yeah, thanks. So the East London Strippers Collective right now is a CIC, which is the UK's legal structure for a social enterprise. As far as I know, the US doesn't have a version of this, like they don't have like an in-between. But it just started really as a group of dancers who worked in East London, specifically at a club called the White Horse, which is no longer with us. And were joined together by their joint grievances with their working condition and started producing all kinds of events from pop-up clubs at this old place called the Aquarium. It had a swimming pool. I went in it. I can't believe I didn't get some kind of bacterial infection. We run a flagship stripper life drawing weekly life drawing class. As far as I know, we are the originators of that. And I'm here to represent us as a director and a member, but we have had many, many founding and new members. One of which is Stacey Clare, who wrote The Ethical Stripper. I got a shout out Maddie, XX Maddie Sexy on Instagram, who has been doing a lot of the slagman, is what we call it. Admin, but slagman.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, I love that. Okay.
We've had like lots of like veterans. I'll shout out Cheeky Love, Carrie Gold. We've had Lauren Elise as well, and we feature so many different dancers as our models. Truly, everyone from everywhere. We try to be international as well. So, AM has modeled for us online before. Blaine
Have.
Petrovia has modeled online for us before as well. So we've just sort of been all over the place. I guess like what is different about us to a lot of sex worker organizations in general is that we're not a classic charity. Like we're not just doing advocacy. I think a lot of us are reckoning with the fact that in order to do this work, we have to make money. So we have to be able to create our own working conditions that repackage our erotic labor, the stuff that we learn in the club, and give it to the public in a way that allows them to be outside the club and is still revenue generating for us as a company. And that revenue then keeps people in because it provides them with a sort of stable, harm redux place of work.
Right.
So yeah, that's the elevator pitch.
Yeah. And how long has East London Stripper Collective been operating for?
As far as I know, unofficially since 2013, so it's been more than a decade. But
That's a long time.
I know, but we officially incorporated in 2020 during COVID.
Okay.
I mean, so yeah, we've I think stood the test of time. I think a lot of these pop-up things die within the first 2-3 years.
Yeah.
So I'm really proud that like we're at a place where it feels resourced, it feels stable, and it feels like it's been handed over before. So I feel comfortable knowing that it can be handed over to a next sort of generation of dancers.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I really like the idea of that. Doing a bunch of work and then being like, okay, now you do it. You know,
Delegation.
because it's so much work, right? And something that I was impressed by a while back, I know we didn't discuss this in our pre-conversation, but the work that East London Stripper Collective did with FKA Twigs, that very like public work that was like all about, because I'm big on this, changing public perception, but it really like for me, I saw that as like an avenue to reach people to change public perception because it was done through such a well-known person, right? Emily, you know who FK Twigs is, right? Yeah. So, and I read the comments. I was obsessed with the comments at the time because there were so many people who were like really pissed off that she gave her platform to a group of strippers. Do you feel comfortable just like kind of rehashing like what that was like at that time? Is that okay to talk about?
Yeah, I think there's, I mean, I won't say anything that isn't already on the public record, but
Totally.
privately, I know my co-founder, so Stacy, did a lot of hand-holding for FK Twigs management. Again, also privately, we have members in our team who were, I guess, close friends of Twigs.
Okay.
Because they sort of grew up together on the scene in London for nightlife and entertainment. And so like they have a sort of closer history and knowledge of FK Twigs pre-music fame.
Okay.
But the gist of it really was just that she released some music videos and has always done using sex worker aesthetics. She has a song called Mary Magdalene. Like she was never subtle about it, I think. But we got into a point with the culture, I guess, where unless you claim being a sex worker, like using hoe aesthetics is not, I mean, yeah, like the dancers online aren't having it.
Right.
So she released a music video or a visual of her actually in a club. And people sort of likened it to cosplay, which then in a weird way, I guess, ended up forcing her to come out as a sex worker or as having done it at some point.
Right. Former. Yeah.
Yeah. This is also during COVID. And so what I will say is that regardless of how people think she either gracefully or didn't gracefully handle that situation, she put her money where her mouth is, personally donated $10K to a fundraiser, helped raise further almost $20K, and then split that between three groups. Lysistrata, us, the East London Strippers Collective, forget the third one. Might have been the
Okay.
Black Sex Workers Collective.
Okay.
We were able to distribute that money as just no strings attached emergency grants for people who were out of work at the time because they would have been self-employed.
Yeah.
It's not like strip clubs offer like emergency COVID self-employed funding. They're not doing that.
Right.
So yeah, regardless of whatever people think about that whole palaver, the fact that we were able to do that is important to me, and
Yes.
is as far as I'm concerned a net good.
Yeah. And I was just really pleased to see someone of that caliber be like, okay, like I'm hearing what you're saying, and like it's time to listen, and like here's there were actions that she took, because the stripper community went for her at that time. Also, like you said, it was COVID and we were bored.
Jobless. It's jobless behavior. Just fine. We were jobless. What do we have to do?
Exactly. Yeah. But Em, did you have any questions around any of that or thoughts or anything? Did you hear about that when it happened?
I did hear about it when it happened. So I don't have any questions yet.
Okay.
Don't learning.
So as
But I
far
do remember when it happened.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I wasn't sure. We weren't really hanging out then, so I didn't know. But you did mention aesthetics, right? And how she uses the aesthetics of sex workers and strippers. And so that's something that we do want to talk about. And it also brings up something that we didn't talk about earlier for me, but that you had mentioned earlier that aesthetics is what sort of draws young women specifically into sex work, because we're using femme bodies, femme aesthetics to portray the work that we're doing, right? I just want to talk about that. And also it's dawning on me that we're just so cool looking. Sex workers, we put a lot of effort into how we show up and how we present so that we can sell what it is that we're doing, right? And that must be hard for people to not want to look like us and act like us. I mean, do you agree, or am I wild? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think there's well, I think Maddie, who is part of the East London Strippers Collective, said in our Guardian article about Honora something that I think was really quite insightful, which is that now, post-COVID, post-OnlyFans, post-Cardi B, post, the zeitgeist changing,
Yeah.
sex workers are cool. Being a whore is
Right.
cool. Being a successful whore, cool. Caveat.
Yeah.
But there's a certain level of cultural cachet that gives you. Everyone and their fucking dad wants to be able to say that they had a sugar daddy, or that they scammed this guy into doing this thing, or that they're fabulous and glam, and yeah, of course, who wouldn't want to do that? Who wouldn't want to be that? But then my art school answer to that is that I think a true subculture is built off of actual experience, right? And the aesthetic that comes out of that often is rooted in some kind of functionality. So hoe aesthetics, hyper femme aesthetics are really just pulled from trans femme aesthetics, right?
Right.
Which is then informing what hookers are into and wear, what strippers wear, specifically with the strip club. Like that is all based on Black American like femme aesthetics.
Right.
There's like no way around that.
Absolutely.
And like, I mean, I think of it also in terms of like if you sort of like compare this to maybe like goth aesthetic,
Right.
these aesthetics are like built into a subculture, which is built on experience. It's built on Gothic literature. It's built on, you know, a sense like Victorian oppression. And like, that's what makes it juicy. But when it's kind of photocopy of a photocopy, when people just sort of take this aesthetic, like, yoink, I'm going to take that now. That I'm not going to take any of the life experience that comes with it.
Right.
That's when it gets, I guess, quote unquote, problematic. It's not problematic. People can do whatever the fuck they want. But that's what makes it not pass the sniff test for me.
Right.
I can sort of tell that's not linked to anything. And this yoinking of aestheticization without any meaningful sort of depth
Right.
connect to it, you'll never get innovation out of that. You're never going to come up with anything interesting as a result. It just becomes this very postmodern, I'm going to photocopy a photocopy until the thing that people are referencing is no longer what were strippers / trans femme sex workers wearing at this time at this place. It becomes, what do I think? What's the idea of a hoe wearing?
Right.
And that is kind of, I think, where people come into, especially now in the digital age, like going into sex work. They're coming into it having consumed the photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy. And then you got to like tell them, well, did you look up how you would do your taxes of this? Did you look up how this would affect your migrant status? Did you look up how to screen a client? Like, do you have someone who will buddy you? And none of this has crossed anybody's mind.
Right. Yeah.
Did you know that like the club or OnlyFans actually takes a cut of your work? Did you know that if you put your face on adult work, you will never be able to cross the US border again? Like, well, not again, but I mean, like, that is increasingly
It's challenging. Yeah. It's challenging. Yeah. Even as crossing the border, like legally as like not, and I wasn't working, I was always terrified to cross the border. If they decided to research me, look me up, if they looked in my bag and then they saw anything that could be related to what I do, I was always terrified. And I got like my computer looked through at Heathrow once and I was terrified. Terrified.
God.
And I had nothing on me. I didn't have stripper shoes on me. I didn't have stripper clothes on me, but my computer had like stickers all over it, you know, like telling stickers. And then luckily I didn't have any incriminating things on my computer. But if I had one thing, like I was terrified. I got pulled aside and like targeted and all my stuff looked through because I was a female traveling alone.
Yeah, see, this is where I'm like, this doesn't make for good aesthetics, as it were. This doesn't make for good viral content. This doesn't make for good fashion, but this is, I guess, the reality. And I struggle sometimes with the balance between like, people should have fun. We should all get to have fun. I don't want to gatekeep pleaser shoes. You can wear whatever you want. I don't care. Fine. You can wear fishnets. It's fine. But then also, like, it's weird to me that people don't have like an innate curiosity about, well, why were people wearing pleaser heels? What does this mean? Who started it? Like, there's like a root to this, and people aren't interested in it at all, which is, yeah,
Right.
that's my problem.
Yeah, definitely. And now that you asked that question, I've actually never asked that question. Like, who started
I have an answer to this.
wearing
This is from,
pleasers first? Okay, tell us.
I actually have an answer to this. So this was from one of our good mutual friends from the Old Pros podcast. So
Okay.
Caitlin Bailey
Yeah.
told me this random fun fact. I never fact checked her because I don't even know how I would go about fact checking this random fact.
Okay.
But apparently, like, so each state in the US has like their own obscenity laws and their own laws around like what you can and can't do in a strip club, right? So
Right.
they all have like all random laws. Like, anyway, apparently in one of the O states, so it could be Ohio, could be a different one, I don't know. There's a law that says that you have to be a certain amount of inches off the floor
Yeah.
and away from the customer
Mm.
for it to not count as prostitution.
Okay.
And if the stage is only a certain level of inches and you need to get the last 8, please.
Okay.
Which I was like blown away by, because I had always thought, well, you just look taller. It's sexy. They're easy to dance in. It's like, no, of course this thing was created as a way to loophole yourself around policy that polices women's bodies.
Yeah, that is interesting because when I was watching documentaries about strippers from like the 90s, the late 80s into early 90s, they were not wearing platform heels. They were either barefoot on stage or they would wear these like almost like ballroom type shoes,
Yes.
like stuff like that. They were not wearing platforms. So,
So something must have changed in like the early 2000s.
yes. I mean, because they were, when I started in 2002, Emily, you also started around the same time as me, did you not?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, and they were
And
formed.
it wasn't, I don't remember there being, the typical would be the, 8-inch pleasers then. I mean, it was definitely, but then I was also a baby. So I'm like, maybe I was wearing 5 inches then. It seemed.
Right. That's a good point. Like, I'm trying to think like how many people were wearing. I feel like the longer I went on stripping, the higher our heel
They
got
kept getting
over
higher,
time.
yeah.
That's how I feel.
Mhm.
But it's so interesting, right? Because as an aesthetic, it no longer matters whether or not your club is subject to that policy, right? You wear it because everyone else is wearing it, because you need to signal somehow that you're a working girl.
Yeah.
And in the opposite, right? In some clubs in London that they're like gentlemen clubs, they want to be classy, as if a stripper could ever be classy, which is just a funny concept to me. They have laws, they have like, not laws, but they have like rules against like girls wearing too high stripper heels. They want everything to be like you can't have more than a 2-inch platform.
Whack.
Which is like crazy, because I'm kind of like, what do you think is happening in here?
Right.
Like, at our house moms, like, what do you think is happening in here? What do you think other people think happened in here? Like, we're not fooling anyone. Removing the 2-inch platform is not helping.
I've worked at clubs where you had to wear ankle length gowns.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do that a
Completely
lot.
covering, but ankle length gowns.
It's just ridiculous, because again, I'm like, what do you think is going on in a place like this? Was it
Right.
Yeah.
Wild. I love this. I love getting into the history of stuff. I'm constantly trying to learn about stripper and pole dancing history, as the two are intrinsically connected, and mostly so that I can continuously prove to strippers that or to pole dancers that it was strippers that invented all of this shit, and where the aesthetic is, and the cosplaying and all of that is infuriating.
Yeah. Well, yeah, don't get me started. Is there
a way, or maybe like some kind of advice, or I don't know, just ideas that we could give people who want to, kind of emulate the aesthetics or wherever their play might be, but like that they could do so while still, being respectful and giving attention to where it came from. And because I feel like a lot of people be like, so you're saying like I can't wear fishnets is what you're saying, right? But it's not what's happening. But like, any advice to what they could do just to kind of, I don't know.
I have a short answer and I have a long answer. Which one do you want? Both?
Probably
Sure.
the long one.
My short answer would, for people who can't handle more than like 30-second tidbits at a time, is just advocate for decrim.
Yeah.
It's fine. Cosplay us. I don't care. As long as you are doing everything in your power to advocate for decrim, fine. the long answer to that question is that, like, I don't think I will ever be able to, like, I don't know if I really agree with the whole cosplaying a stripper thing. I know that it's a thing, but I also, like, I don't think sexuality is, like, individual, right? Like, people access their sexual liberation in many different ways, and, like, who am I to say that you can't wear a thing because it makes you feel good? But then the other part of me is, I'm like, well, actually, sexual liberation is individual. I think it's really neoliberal to think of it that way. Sexual liberation is intrinsically tied to women's rights, women's bodily autonomy, queer, LGBTQ rights. Like, we wouldn't be where we are right now with, like, PrEP, like, so many decades out of the AIDS crisis, if it weren't for, like, openly talking about what gay men were going through. And if everyone treated it as, like, an individual problem, we just, like, would not be where we are today, so protected from it with, like, life-saving medication that stops the spread. So, on one hand, yes, your sexual liberation is your own journey, and nobody can tell you otherwise, and you can do what you want, and it's your body. You can do what you want. But then the smart person with critical thinking skills in me is like, it's not just about you. How you feel about yourself is a mirror about, like, through society, right? Like, you can see yourself reflected in others. Well, I would hope people do. If you have empathy, then you do. So it's not an individual thing. And I think once you inhabit that, like, that should change, the behavior, and the behavior should always then reflect that you understand that. People be thinking that deeply. I really don't.
I don't think so, but I think it's still good to hear it, and I think you make such a valid point that it is a group thing. It's not it isn't just about you. And I really love the short answer. Like, if you're going, advocate for decrim, and quite honestly, like, even if you're not dressing sexy, advocate for decrim also, that, because that's another thing that criminalization of sex work affects civilians, women. It affects everybody. And if you don't understand that, then you should learn about how the criminalization of sex work affects you as someone who's not a sex worker. If you're like, why? Well, I'm not a sex worker, I don't have to worry about this. Well, yeah, you do, because it affects you today. It affects you all the time, and you don't even know it. You don't really, or you don't know it consciously, right? And so, yeah.
I mean, like, it's so pertinent in the States as well, right? Because it is criminalized. And that being criminalized for so long lay groundwork for the current repealing of abortion rights.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, this is all about being able to control an underclass and women's bodies.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
I love Bee's Knees knee pads. I've used other brands in the past, so I definitely can compare. Bee's Knees, they last longer, and they come with replaceable slip-ins, so you can make these knee pads last for, like, at least a couple of years. I've had mine for several years. I can't even count how many years I've had them now. The best part is that they're being made in the United States, and they have since their inception, which means there's no tariffs, there's no inflated cost. These knees have been saving my 45-year-old knees. I feel like I'm crawling around on clouds basically when I use them. So I think they're the greatest knee pads on the market currently. To purchase a pair of Bee's Knees knee pads, you can visit yasstore.shop and search Bee's Knees, or you can click the link in our description down below.
What kind of work around decrim is East London Stripper Collective doing?
So, okay, for people who don't know, in the UK, it is legal to buy and sell sex. So technically, prostitution is not illegal. I say prostitution as a legal term, not as, like, a derogatory.
Yeah.
So it's not criminalized the way it is in the States. However, all of the stuff around prostitution is criminalized, right? So the definition of brothel keeping is if, let's say, me and you just want to share a flat, and we don't, like, I just need you to be there to be buddy so that I'm not being fucking assaulted in the next room.
Sure.
that is considered brothel keeping, right? And that is illegal.
Right.
And one of us will get done for quote unquote like stuff like pimping, what you would
Sure.
understand as pimping. They recently tried to introduce some bills that would have criminalized like the friends and people who drive sex workers around. It didn't.
Mhm.
It died and it didn't get voted on, so it's effectively dead. And we helped with, the writing to MPs to get around this, but
Nice.
it's a lot of like playing whack-a-mole with lots of like smaller bills that come up, and you have to sort of keep on top of things, right? Because
Yeah.
obviously the wider sex work in general, so stuff around prostitution specifically, is like wider. It affects everybody. But then you have all these little amendments to things like online safety bill, which massive. It's our version of FOSTA SESTA that
Mhm.
passed, which means things are a little bit more difficult, actually a lot more difficult for people who work online. Or the licensing system for how strip clubs operate, whether or not one council or one borough decides to shut all of them down, whether they decide to, those things are like, oh, they are tough. They are thankless work. You are emailing like pencil pushers at a council who are underfunded. And it is playing whack-a-mole with all these like smaller ones to make sure that the landscape still stays as sort of safe for work as possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, we like tell people to sign things. We signpost people to research. Funnily enough, actually, for all of my cynical misgivings and like my pessimism about stuff, our data from our newsletter, and it shows that people are the most engaged when we give them a call to action.
Nice.
So our audience do want to help, right? I suppose it's not up to them to keep on track of the whack-a-mole. We have to point people to the mole and they have the hammer.
Right. Exactly. I mean, that's the whole purpose of, having the organization and doing that work, right? Like it's because you're the ones that are on top of that information. And like, it's why it's such important work. And like you said, like often thankless, like it's a lot of tedious work that y'all are doing on the back end and have to pay attention to these laws and then read the long reports and read the legal jargon documents and read them as a group and understand them. I mean, I've been there, I've done it. I know how hard work that is. And you're just like constantly doing it,
Yeah.
Do you have legal advisors that work with the organization?
So we have a couple. Again, they're also very whack-a-mole, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like they pop up here and there. We have some as part of the sex workers union. So they're separate to us, but they're fantastic. They're the sex workers union in the UK. If you're a sex worker
Nice.
of any kind, join the union. So they have legal advice there. English Collective of Prostitutes have their own legal team, and they I think they specialize quite obviously on like the criminal aspect. So if people are being prosecuted or they're being issued things like a prostitute's caution, that's where their effort is going to, and then they're going into bigger policy change. For us, we kind of work on like a pizza by the slice kind of way. Like we don't always need it because so many of us have the legal knowledge already around SCVs. We don't often need to consult with licensing officers or, solicitors. We have a mistrust as well of solicitors who work in licensing because their answer to everything is always more licensing. And our answer is, well, no, we need to decriminalize the entire shebang. But you can't tell that to a licensing solicitor because that means less work for them. It's against their interests to be in like. So yeah, we go get legal advice, particularly around employment law, when we need it. But the real hard-hitting legal stuff, we tell people usually to go to the union or to go to English Collective or prostitutes. And they just come to us for fun things.
Yeah. That's really interesting. That was a really good question, Emily, because it's like I wasn't taking into account like how strategic that you also have to be even with other like professionals who seemingly want to help, because they also don't really 100% get it. Like,
Do
it's
you want to hear
so
some tea?
grassroots. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not going to name names because like can't name names, but there's like a really big kink party here. So like we
What does it rhyme with?
Well, there's only so many. There's only so many here. So it's
Okay.
one of the bigger ones. It's not the biggest one, but it's one of the big, more sort of well-known ones.
Okay.
So it's a kink party. And I mean, this dives back into like how people have solidarity and how they like, access their sexual liberation. The kink community are full of upper middle class people with too much money who want to wear latex and get spanked. And they have absolutely no interest at all in like the wider impacts of who's providing that work, who's providing their doming, their subbing, like the ecosystem. They're just interested in going to a fucking party and getting spanked in a dark room, which I'm fine with. Everyone is allowed to have fun. I just find these people tedious now. One of their parties got shut down by one of the councils in East London. So they hired on a licensing lawyer, and over the past couple of years, I have seen their motherfucking faces across different places in the UK and Berlin talking about licensing, and their licensing lawyers, his solution to the issue of needing a sexual entertainment license venue, which is what strip clubs need. It's what, like, let's say, like porn shops need. That's a very old school reference. No one goes to porn shop anymore. Or like a sex store needs.
Right.
Kink parties tend not to need those because they are pop-ups, right? So the venue just has them once a month, a call a day. His solution is to have a new license that is specific for kink venues. And I'm like, you fucking moron, that just creates a two-tiered system where some kink parties who can afford to get that license will have it and get to operate overground. Do you know what happens to the ones that don't? They go underground. Do you know what happens underground? Exploitation. That's where all the they're not covered by, the eyes of the law. And particularly in kink parties where they have to deal with a lot of sensitive issues around consent and potential sexual assault in their parties, why would you create the conditions for more of that? This doesn't make anyone safer, but it does get one specific lawyer in the UK more work to provide more licenses. Doesn't make any sense. Every time I see him, I'm like, you could just do decrim. And they're like, it's a different thing altogether. And I'm like, is it?
It's really not.
Is it? It's from a legal perspective. Yeah, sure. But I'm like, if what you want is for local councils to get off your ass so that people can just go have a fun party where they get spanked in a dark room, then the long-term solution to that is decrim. I don't know how much more clear I can make that delineation, but then people think they're really different from us. People really think that them getting spanked in a dark room has nothing to do with us. And I'm like, you will be shocked.
Yeah, because it's considered obscene. And what we do is considered obscene. I mean, that's just one thing, right? There's a whole list.
They think they're normal people who just
it's
are like,
considered obscene by the government, not by me. I don't think it's obscene. But, yeah, that right there. And I'm sure that there's sex workers working at the kink parties also. Are there not? Or are they just civilian people spanking each other?
and I'm like, everyone turns a blind eye. This is sort of the central conceit, I think, of a kink party. And I'm like, I've worked at the door at a couple of these. Do you not think I have eyeballs where I can see someone who is obviously a client of someone else. I know what's going on here. You all know what's going on here. No one's turning a blind eye because you didn't see any money like trade hands and you don't really know what that relationship is like. But that is happening in your parties, in your doors. To think somehow that decrim has nothing to do with you is ridiculous.
Right.
Who's to say that, like, sure, you could introduce a kink license, but who's to say that, like, they wouldn't add clauses into that kind of license that says no exchange of money? That would basically like license out the sex work. They don't think
Right.
that far, right? So that's my beef right now with the kink community, which is why I spend most of my evenings now. I'm like, I'm gonna stay home and play video games. I don't want to spank any of you in a dark room anymore. I've had enough.
More spankings.
That. So circling back to talking about history and talking about what East London Stripper Collective does, you had mentioned that y'all are doing these tours of the strip mile. Can you fill us in and give us all the details on that? Sounds super interesting. So just let it all out.
So East London, the area that we work in is called Shoreditch, and Shoreditch is now a gentrified hellhole. But before that, it used to be this really fun melting pot of working class local people with a lot of like migrant workers who were building the financial sort of center at the time. Canary Wharf is really close to Shoreditch and the city, which is what they call the financial center here. And because of that, and because in the 80s, 60s, 70s, 80s, there wasn't sexual entertainment venue licensing, right? Like you could just have hoes in your pub if you so pleased with a regular bar license. Loads of strip clubs opened in the 60s all the way up to the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s before this licensing got introduced. And so East London birthed a culture of like kind of like dive bars, basically. Girls used to be paid to show up. There was never any polls. Girls would just mince around a pool table. We didn't have like a tipping culture, and we still don't really in the UK because you can't really lob pound coins at a dancer. That's not really appropriate. So girls would go around with a pint glass, and all the customers would just put a pound in the pint. And then you would gather from, let's say, like 20 customers. You get 20 quid from 20 pounds, and then do your little dance. Take off your clothes while you're at a pool table. I don't know. Sometimes you could go in on a Sunday, get some roast potatoes, have the best roast potatoes of your life, and watch someone get their kid off. It was amazing. And so when I started in the industry around like 2014, a lot of the veterans, I call them now, had just sort of finished their run of the early 90s, early 2000s, and the 2010s. And because gentrification fucked East London so badly, we decided that it made sense as a group of strippers who are also artists who are really interested in culture and heritage and history, that we would dig into the sort of untold history of some of these strip clubs. So we covered some places that have shut and some that are still open, attached some stories behind it. Some places are haunted. Strip club vibes. Some places are grade 2 listed buildings. Like you can't touch them. They're historical buildings. So even though they're shut now, they can't be touched. They can't just sort of be sold off to a developer. There's one place I'm thinking of. I'm really hoping that they bequeath it to us, because I'm like, you can't touch this place. A developer can't touch this place. You should just give it to us. We would run it. And part of what we're doing is we're inviting some of the veterans who I'm still in contact with, who some of us are still stripping today. Like they're still doing burlesque and working, to host these tours and give their stories. And it's been amazing. So we've run like 2 so far. We spent all of the first half of the year researching it, and now we're delivering it, I guess. Um, and it's just a great little peek into like the stories that people have, like what their audition would have been like. Like there was a time when you had to bring a CD. Your
Oh my God.
audition.
I remember that.
Or
Like,
Or
did
like
you ever work where you had to put a quarter in the jukebox and then wait for your song to start?
I never had to put a quarter in a jukebox. That sounds
Yep.
like from the 50s or something.
yeah, there's I used to work in a club. I'm not that old, but I used to work in a pub, a fucking dive that was that old, and they didn't have a sound system. You had to go to the jukebox, put
And then
in,
you run
know,
back to the stage.
our version of like a dime, so 10p coin, pick from the same songs. Thank God they had Mariah Carey. Thank God, because otherwise, what would I have done? They had some Britney as well, and then that was it. You just picked. That's
Amazing.
So yeah, we're running those now.
That's awesome.
We're trying to run them on a monthly basis until the end of the year. We'll probably skip most of winter and then hopefully try to get to a point where we can do them twice a month on the weekend. It's just been really nice. And I got some props as well. I was able to get some printouts of what these places look like on the inside. So fun fact, one of the haunted strip club that's a grade 2 listed building, one of the customer comments, and this is how we did a lot of research. We went on Facebook and Google reviews to trawl what the clients used to say. This client went, lovely ceilings, rough girls. The ceilings are really nice.
Amazing. Yeah, I love me a good haunted strip club. I used to work in one. It was amazing. It was terrifying. It was a really scary one, though. It was pretty scary.
Yeah.
Are they scary haunted, or are they just like, it's just like simple, or like, what's it like?
Well, I mean, the one that we're talking about right now, the reason why they believe it's haunted is because when they were renovating it in 1979, they found two dead bodies and a rusty pair of scissors underneath like the foundations. Right. So
Horrifying.
I know. So
Okay.
there are reports from clients and the girls themselves that things would move in the middle of the night. There would be weird sounds. Like, but I mean, for me, it's just kind of goofy walking by in the daytime to see this empty, derelict building that has probably housed literally hundreds of years of East London pub history. And then it's funny to think that its heyday is as a strip dive bar.
Love that. I love that. That sounds awesome. So you've done 2 so far. You want to do more. And were
Mhm.
the first 2, were they like pretty full? Are people like into it? How and are you walking around, or are you on a tour bus? Like, what's that like?
So it's just a mile. It's just a mile walk. There's 10 of these clubs all down one single street of 1 mile, which is amazing.
That's awesome.
So we start them from one place and then we walk them from that station down Shoreditch High Street. And then we end off at our home at the Crown and Shuttle, which is a pub now, but used to be a strip pub. We host live drawing there. We have a great relationship with them. They're super lovely. And like all pubs have like a function room here. So you can like do all your private stuff there. And we take everyone upstairs, give them the final history of the building. So this one is the one with a pool table.
Mhm.
This one also, like the old owner died of a OD in the office after going on a bender with a bunch of Brazilian strippers. So he like died there, and every single time we run something there, I'm like, he is having the best time. Like, we are doing him justice. This old man. And then we give them the strip experience from the veterans of what it would have been like to experience like a striptease in the 70s, 80s, and
That
90s.
is so cool. That
You
is
can
so
just-
cool.
You know what I mean? It's like on a Sunday afternoon. You can get your roast potatoes. You can get a chicken tender.
Love the roast potatoes.
Right. You could have, and just sit down with like a pint. Someone comes over with a tip bucket. She's like, tip, please. You put in your pound, or I mean, we encourage people due to inflation to put in like dollar bills instead.
Yeah.
Give me like a 5-pound note.
Yeah.
And then she'll give you like a whole act, because at the time Poles hadn't infiltrated the UK yet. Like, people weren't dancing on poles. They were going around the tables and doing like a little ambient number.
When do you suppose Poles did come to the UK?
Some places like still did, but like most of the pubs were not going to invest in them. But like the poles were there from the 80s, but it was
80s.
from the like the pubs that were not interested in getting a license. They just wanted some sexy girls to come in on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Right.
They weren't going to invest in a pole. They were like, just dance wherever. Do whatever you like. The rules were literally do whatever you want as long as it makes money.
And they got paid to come in, which is like not now when you're paying to go in.
Yeah.
Wild. Because they used to pay strippers in the US to show up to work too. And then when I was working, I didn't have house fee. I had to pay out on my dances and I had to tip everybody. But then I remember drink fees happened. I was like, what are y'all doing with this? Like, so I watched drink fees happen towards the end. But I remember you didn't have to pay up front to show up to work. Nope. And then it changed.
Yep.
Yeah. I think Vegas, this was the first place I paid to show up to work because you didn't pay out on anything else. You just...
Oh.
Yeah, you didn't pay out on dances. It was impossible to keep track of that, like on the floor. But in the rooms, you would pay out on dances.
Right.
So, but on the floor, I could just, that's why I would spend most of my time on the floor, because I'm like, I'm keeping all the money here, and then.
Right, you can't keep track of me.
Right, and so they did implement a house fee because they couldn't keep track of you as easily. But and then after that, it just, I don't know, it just skyrocketed. It
really changed.
I know it did. It really did change a lot. Before we close out, what are some other things that we need people to know about East London Stripper Collective? Some about what it's like to run it, what other projects are coming that you want people to know about, like anything or any person that we should know more about, anything like that.
I mean, we always have things in the pipeline. We always do too much.
I get them.
We do way too much. Mm-hmm. The thing that we are in the midst of launching, though, is turning the website into an agency. You know how online strip club agencies are always, they look like they were built in 2008. The website looks like it's going to give your laptop like a venereal disease. And you're like, it's gross. And you're just like, why? There's no way this is legit. So we're trying to do the total opposite. Our website, as much as possible, is gorgeous because me and Maddie have learned how to hack WordPress. I'm actually trying to get ChatGPT to give me custom code to build out a quote generator. Because what I'm trying to avoid is people constantly emailing me going, how much does this cost? Well, how much does this cost? What if I want someone to sit on a cake? What if I want someone to pour champagne on me? Like, I just want people to be able... Right, you're looking at the admin, right?
Yeah, I'm an admin person, but I'm like, that's a lot.
It's a lot. So I'm trying to see if I can build custom code for people to just, you just enter in all your wants and needs into here. And based off like your location and like how far you are from East London and the time and the amount of girls you want, we can give you a general quote. And if you lock in at that quote, then, you pay your deposit. It's easier for everybody involved so that I am not fielding these time wasters questions.
100%.
So that's awesome. That's like live on our website now. Like, we've been taking lots of private bookings. We do a lot of hen do's. So that's bachelorette parties for lesbians, which is really sweet.
Okay.
They're called hen do's. So hen do's and stag do's. That's like our version of a bachelor and a bachelorette.
Because there's hen and there's stag, but a hen do means it's for lesbian women. Am I getting that right?
No, it's just a hen do's for women, but like lesbian. It's just for lesbians. So it's like there's no
I've only
stag.
heard it called hen or stag. I've never heard the do at the end of it. I guess.
Because English people like to put do at the end
Gotcha.
of something
Okay, got it.
to signify an event. So like
Okay.
you could go to a Christmas do for
it's
your
a to-do.
workplace.
Okay, got it. Yeah. Okay. Learning.
Yes, the English.
Yeah.
The
British English. Yeah.
can't stand them. Yeah, so we've been doing a lot of that. It's been really, really, really nice. We're getting a little bit more into private bookings because we're trying to build out a sustainable business model, right? Ultimately, the thing we believe, regardless of whether or not it's, I mean, you could make the argument that it's super neoliberal. I don't really think it is, but we believe that there is a way to do this kind of work that is fun, that is ethical, that is well paid, fairly priced, that like can be sustainable as a small sort of grassroots local business. It doesn't have to be huge. I'm not trying to become like OnlyFans. That's not the point here.
Totally.
Right? Like I'm trying to have a place that people can access regular work where people who wouldn't normally think to book a stripper because they think they're, either priced out or they're, it's not for them, it's not queer enough, or they're just scared of these awful fucking websites.
Yeah.
I just want somewhere for them to go where they can take part in what we do, and part of us delivering the service, I think, is how we humanize ourselves to other people. Is you sort of don't realize what booking one of us is like until you've done it, and then you sort of realize, I'm like, oh, like, yeah, this person is a human being, and this is a form of labor, but it's also really fun, and it doesn't like need to be stigmatized the way it is.
Right.
And anyway, we're trying to do that.
Definitely.
We don't know if this is gonna work, but as far as we know, the competition
Right.
sucks. It's not like there's other places to go book an ethical stripper. Every other place takes a massive cut,
Yeah.
almost over 50%. Every other place will the customer will book someone off the website, and the agency will just send whoever's available. You end up going to the gig with someone who's like already mad at you because they didn't expect you to come. These are not the conditions for safe digging.
Yeah. And also I love that. I think that it's important that we do these things ourselves to a certain degree, because like you said, then we're paying somebody else. We're being exploited by other people. Like my favorite thing when people are like, oh, a woman owns the strip club. Oh, that must be awesome. I'm like, that's not, just because they're a woman doesn't mean they understand sex workers.
There were so many clubs in our tour that were owned by women, and they are the ones who got taken to court by the union for breaching workers' law. So it doesn't preclude you from any of this stuff.
Right.
I think for me, it's less about women-owned and more about worker-owned. Like,
yes, that's what I'm saying.
I am accountable to my community, right? This is part of our legal structure, and this is sort of part of just the manifesto of how we work. Like, I am not here out just for myself. I am accountable to the community, and I'm also accountable to like the job. If I want a healthy strip industry for future dancers, then I have to have done something about it. And so we're all trying to like band together to do that. And our lovely roster of girls that you can book, but also girls who like show up to meetings and do the organizing and do the thinking, are delivering like a very unique and different kind of strip experience that people haven't really had before.
And is it just female strippers that you're dealing with?
We have one male stripper, but he also like moonlights as he works. He has a corporate job, so like he doesn't sleep. I'm like, so you have time to work out, strip on the weekends, do your corporate job. Do you sleep? So we have like a couple, but like we're not really in the business of platforming male strippers unless
Right.
they're gay or queer
Okay.
or trans.
Mhm.
Just because, like, for example, in the UK, like if you wanted to go see male strippers, you would just go see Magic Mike,
Okay.
the live show,
Yeah.
because it's on the West End all the time.
Unless you want to see a male stripper being femme, they're probably not. Are they
No,
being femme at Magic Mike shows? Probably not.
no,
Yeah.
they're giving you the whole Channing Tatum experience, which is fine. There's something
Fine if that's what you're into. Yeah.
for everybody,
Right.
but
Yeah. Got it. Yeah. No, I was just curious because you use the term girls a lot. So I wasn't sure if you also work with trans workers or if you work with non-binary dancers or if it's just. So I was
we
just.
do.
Okay.
Basically, I use girls in the most non-gendered way. The dolls, the girlies, everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of trans mask dancers as well. Like, I can't speak to their experience, but I think they have a unique relationship to sex work as trans men.
Yeah.
Yeah, in ways that I wouldn't know. So
Yeah.
we have them on our roster as not just like people you can book, but also like for us, it's good to like have a vibe checker of like, hey, like if we just like plopped you in a gig, is this safe? Like,
Sure.
would you?
Absolutely.
How much outing of you guys do we need to do? Because like, I don't want you to like walk into a client situation and they not know, and then they find out.
Yeah.
And then
hear
I
what
put
you're
you
saying.
in a less safe situation. But I also like who you get outed to is up to you.
Yeah.
So
But
stuff
that's
like
why
that.
Yeah, but that's why it's great that you're all working together and then you can have those types of conversations where maybe in a normal agency, a trans mask or a trans male sex worker wouldn't be able to have those types of open conversations with like
Oh, absolutely.
agents
Like,
and stuff, So
this would not give a shit.
totally, they would not understand that at all. We just released an episode on June 26th with Jack Parker talking all about this subject, by the way, for our listeners. Yeah. Well, okay, Sam. So how do we got to find East London Stripper Collective. We have to follow East London. We have to do all the things. What is the action? Where do we go? Fill us in.
You can find us on East London Strippers Collective.com. So that's our website. If you can't book us because you're in the States or whatever, you can follow us on Instagram at East London Strippers Collective. And that's it. We are not on Twitter for obvious reasons or X. And we used to be on Facebook. Well, we are on Facebook, but like I am not a dinosaur, so I don't use Facebook anymore.
Got it. You're so funny. That's awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on here today and talking to us about what all this such important work that you're all doing. And I just love hanging out with you and spending time with you. So extra bonus for me. And thank you, Emily, for joining us for the whole episode.
Thank you for having me on. This was fun and informative.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bo.
Yeah, thank you. And to all of our listeners, don't forget to like, rate, and subscribe to the show. It helps with our optics. It helps for when we're applying for grants and things like that. The more numbers we have, the better it is. So if you love us, please show us. Thank you so much. And we'll talk to you next time. Bye.
YAS Podcast is produced by YAS Work, which is a nonprofit dedicated to educating and entertaining audiences about sex work through media. Learn more about how you can get involved in the podcast and our organization by visiting yaswork.org. That's YASWORK.org.